And welcome to Talk Truly. My name is Ed Calais. I am with Truly Effortless Events, and this is Talk Truly. If you're watching, talktruly.com. You could find us on YouTube, Facebook, TikTok, anywhere. I'm in Ringgold, Georgia, at Area 52 Studios. If you haven't been here, you need to come on by. And today, my guest, the one and only Mr. Juan Florez from Summit Funding. How are you doing, Juan?
Man, I'm doing fantastic. I love when you do that because it's my favorite thing.
The one and only.
The one and only. Last
Yeah.
time I saw you, were like, hey, that's the one for you right there.
Well, you started it with me. So, you're going like everything that you do, you really brand. And one thing that's I respect that so much about you, when you walk into a room, everyone knows you because you're the one. And that catches them, so you just turn into that. And that's just like, having a name like Ed. I can't tell you how many Mr. Ed jokes I've gotten in my life, or Ed and Eddie jokes. It all depends on how old a person is. But the thing is, you don't get offended by it. You just stare into it and you own it, and people will remember you every time. Every time they're going like, man, you're the one. So I have a ton of questions. I'm glad that we got a little time. First things first. One, are you originally from Chattanooga, and if not, what brought you to Tennessee?
So, no, I was actually born in Colombia, South
Columbia.
America.
Whoa, man.
And I mean, I came here probably in '02. I grew up in Saudi Daisy, actually Middle Valley.
What a big,
Big difference.
Columbia, Saudi Daisy. I could see where you could see, like, and if you don't know what Saudi Daisy is, it's a suburb of Chattanooga. It's a very rural suburb, I would say, but it's a great town.
Oh, it's grown so much,
You know,
especially here recently. I go back through there and I'm like, wow, like nothing like what it used to be.
it's kind of funny, I'm going to talk a little bit about Saudi Daisy. They're ranked so high in different sports, uh, in the state and in the country, and cheerleading and all that stuff. So they've come, they're not a little small town anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
People.
So why Saudi Daisy?
I don't know. I don't think I had much of a choice. I mean, I was 5. So
You were 5?
yeah, coming in there. And
Why did your parents choose Saudi Daisy?
my dad was working at this, he was an engineer for a manufacturing plant. And he came first. And then we came in probably a year after he's established just where to live, where we're staying, and everything. So, I mean, our process was a little unlike everybody else's, but we came in, we got all of our paperwork straightened out. I went to Middle Valley Elementary School, and then I went to DuPont for a couple years, and then I think it was '05 or maybe '07. We moved over to East Brainerd, where honestly we've been there ever since.
East Brainerd is a great part of town. I live in East Brainerd,
Yeah.
which I'm surprised that we're not going out to lunch or to dinner more often, which,
yeah.
so, after this, we're going to be setting up some times. But, here you are now. You're out of high school.
Yeah.
What did you do right out of high school? Did you
Well,
go into mortgage lending, or because, if you don't know, what we're here for is you're with Summit Mortgage, and we're going to talk about people when they want to buy a home or any other big purchases. They're going to have to go through you,
Yeah.
and I would feel better and more comfortable going through you to get a mortgage. I know that because I've built such a relationship that the trust is there.
Yeah.
And the fact that you establish that trust really quick. You say what you do what you say.
It's simple, but
No.
it's not common, I'll tell you that.
So what got you into
Why
mortgages?
mortgages?
Yeah, why mortgages?
Man, it's a fun story. I think it was not the plan, but I'm so happy that I found it. I tell people I found my thing, and it's hard coming out of high school and you're expected to know what you're gonna do for the rest of your life. That didn't click with me, and so I was very fortunate. Both my parents are real estate investors.
Oh,
Mom's an
wow.
accountant, so she does a lot of the numbers. She does taxes, insurance. She helps a ton in the Hispanic community. Dad and I ran a construction company for about 6, maybe 7 years, where I was like his head guy. I mean, I started from picking up trash to being the project coordinator to jumping into sales because he had to take off for a couple of days, and I'd never sold anything in my life. And it that's kind of where it was all born. And some say it was natural ability. I don't. It's a lot of hard work. But I did grow up watching them, and they were always entrepreneurs. Dad didn't stay at the factory for long. It got to a point where he started having health issues. He said, "Okay, there's got to be another way." So, funny enough, my parents were about my age when they first got here. They were in their early 30s. My dad was a little younger. He was about 27. And now being I'll be 29, watching that, I'm thinking, "Wow, like new country, new language, new life completely, plus me." Like, that must have been a lot to handle and a lot to figure out, so, watching them work really hard, and we never did the clock in, clock out. Like, I didn't know what it was like to be just a traditional employee, so I jumped in and I started working with dad. Climbed up, then from there, there came a time when I said, "Hey, I don't wanna do something else." Not that this wasn't good, it was just I want to try something else. I still don't know if this is my thing. I'm burnt out. Like we're jumping on roofs. I'm doing estimates. I'm driving all around town. And in 2017, at the very end of 2017, is when my daughter was born. So out of high school, pretty much 2 years after that, I'm having my daughter, Elena. And I didn't like that I couldn't see her all the time. Waking up before the sun, coming home after sunset. It was like that for a while. So I said, okay, I got to do something different. And I worked at another job for about a year, didn't work out. And then one day, um, oh, I don't know how deep you want to go into the story.
Please.
So the kid's mom,
Mhm.
she said, "Hey, I don't want to be with you anymore." So I was kind of just kicked out to figure it out. I had to start over at the beginning of 2023. I had to start 100% over. I hit what some people call rock bottom,
Mhm.
and you know, in the moment, you never truly know why things are happening. I've always said, you got to be tested to have a testimony, things like that. Like if you're facing hard struggles and you're going through tough things, it's because the enemy's out to kill, steal, and destroy, and they want to keep you from your greatness. And so that was a tough reminder because I knew, and I'd pray all the time and say, God, I know you have a plan. Mind telling me a little bit about that plan? Because I'm just not seeing it. I'm trying to stay really positive. But it was a tough couple months, and in that time, I was looking to figure out because I had rental properties through growing up with mom and dad. I'm trying to figure out how to pull money out of that, or if I should sell it, or if I should do who knows what. And mom and dad, we never understood interest. We never understood loans. We bought our houses in cash back when they were 30, 40 grand, and we'd put 30, 40 grand. We had the construction company, we'd remodel them. It was a good business. Well, that was all I knew. So I wasn't getting any advice from them. I went and I started to look at options and figure out what I can do. Every single person told me no, but they wouldn't tell me why. It's like, I'm not unmotivated. I understand that I'm not approved. Can you tell me why? And it was just too much for them to go into. And that's for the ones that actually met with me. I think only one of them met with me in person. The rest of it was just a phone call. Being the person I am, I got a little ticked off. Said, you know what? I'm going to figure this out. And I don't know much about anything, but I can figure things out. And in the course of that time, I met one of my coworkers. His name is Chris. And I asked him, what do I do? He sat me down. He explained all of the ins and outs. And I forgot to mention this at the time when I was going through all of that. I'd gotten fired. My first job, my real first job, I got fired
Wow.
for being a top producer. And the way I tell this story is me and the VP got into a pissing match. He thought I was coming after his job. Well, no, I'd worked really hard and I guess I grew a little too quickly. They came in one day and in the worst way you could ever do it, they just said, "Yeah, you're fired." So, starting another business, trying to figure things out. A couple months go by and all of this is like happening back to back to back. So, no job, no place to live. I was embarrassed to tell my parents what had happened. So, my pride just couldn't do it. And then once I figured this out, I said, "You know what? I like this." I asked my colleague, I said, "Hey, are you guys hiring?" And I think the answer was no, we're not hiring. This is a really tough time for the mortgage business. But I was persistent. I stuck with it, got licensed, started learning, and just dove straight in to figure it all out. And in the short version, we're here now.
Well, what do you love most about being a mortgage broker? I mean, I know that you're there when their dreams are happening.
Mhm.
They've always wanted a house, and you're part of that process of making it happen.
Yeah, I'd say there's two big things.
Hmm.
The number one is the problem solving. I love putting that puzzle piece together and really moving the things around to strategically give somebody the best deal. But the other thing is the education. If I can if I can get that light bulb to go off and when you see it, man, that's so rewarding.
So let's go back into like the whole, if I was buying a house or
Mhm,
buying a home, or anyone listening right now,
mhm,
you know, how hard is it to buy a home? What's the path? I've spoken to real estate agents, and
mhm.
what it boils down to: if you don't have any money, you don't have any house. And when it comes, you're the guy with the money. You know, in fact, you're probably going to get mugged after this podcast because you're the guy with the money. Yeah. No,
Yeah.
but if we had some, let's create some scenarios. You know.
So I'll break it down super easy because we were just talking about this morning. There's three big things that you need to buy a house. You need cash, you need credit, and you need income. Those three things play a role. You got to have a yes to all three. Now, the cash part, a lot of people get hung up on, well, what's my deposit? Well, it's deposit and all of your closing costs. So I call it the cash to close. It's your out the door figure. Then you have credit. You do have to have a good credit score.
Mhm.
Where that lands, as long as it's not under 580, you have a shot. If you're still in the low 600s, there's definitely something in there that we can surgically look at, if you will, to help that person raise it. Um, in your credit report, you're going to see two things: the score, and then you're also going to see all of the lines of credits that they have. That gives us your minimum payment. And in that minimum payment, we can figure out, okay, well, what is your purchasing power? Because, well, the third thing was your income. So we calculate your income. And depending on what Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac say, we can use to calculate your monthly income. We'll figure out that number. We figure out your minimum debts. And then we start to work backwards. What's the purchase price based off what you have to put down and to close the deal? And where does those payments come up? And
Now,
yeah, go ahead.
to a layman,
Yep.
what is Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac?
The big government people that regulate everything.
Really?
Yeah, that's probably in the easiest way I can put it.
Well, because in the podcast, whenever I title everything, one of the things it's going to be in that title, if someone wants to learn how to buy a home, you know, let let Juan be the one to teach you.
So if you
Yeah.
want a home,
If you
get a
want a
loan.
home, yeah, let's go
We've been
ahead.
working on that,
We've
man.
been working on it. Got everything, got the stamp and everything.
Yeah.
You know, uh, so if somebody just graduated high school,
So, well, what I was going to come back to is for people that say, "Well, I don't have 20% down." You don't need 20% down. There's a lot of down payment programs. I
really,
have people that have put 0% down. But I got to be really careful about how I explain that because I don't want somebody to feel misled. There's several things that have to fall into place, but can it be done? Yeah. Yeah, I've
How about for vets? It's like there's
VA programs, yeah.
VA programs.
Those are awesome.
What other type of programs that?
A lot of people go towards USDA because they want the 0% down. I say that's a great option, but if for some reason their requirements disqualify you, we have an in-house down payment program that's opened up a lot of doors for people that they have all the other two things out of the three, but they just need a little bit of help on the money.
Hmm.
And that's opened up a ton of doors for people.
I can imagine. When you're going through all the things in life that are major purchases, home, a car, you know, uh, home being the biggest.
That's the biggest one.
It's the biggest one. And if you were giving advice to this boyfriend and girlfriend, they just graduated high school and they have big dreams that he's going to work, she's going to work, we're going to get married one day. What are things that you would tell them, like, hey, I want to make this easier for you,
Hmm.
so I want to lay down the bricks of the path that might make it easier, to where whenever you're ready to get a home, come to me.
Hmm.
you know, you work with a lot of realtors. I mean, I know Emily Berriman is probably one of my favorite people. She's going to be on the show eventually. She is probably my favorite person when it comes to real estate, because she's just a awesome human being, you know. Um, and I know that you and Emily work well
Yes.
together. That's how I met you.
Mhm.
It's kind of like the one two, you know.
Yes, exactly. Well, for that high school couple, a lot of it's expectations. Um, Finding your dream house in the first go around, it's like hitting a home run every time you come to bat. It's it can be done, but I would always say, hey, first house is always going to be the hardest one. After that, it gets a lot easier. Get a starter home. Get something that you know is not going to be the forever home, but use that as your stepping stone. Because you'll build equity. That market's going to continue to go up. You're going to be paying down a loan instead of paying down rent. And it seems silly when I flip it and I say, "Hey, did that apartment complex or that house you're renting, did they ever give you your equity check?" Because every year it's worth more and more. They're like, "No." I'm like, "And did they, when you moved out, said, Ed, thank you so much for making all your payments on time. Here's a portion of all the rent that you've paid." Sounds ridiculous. When you buy a house, those are things that come with it, plus tax advantages and things like that. So, getting the first house, it's going to be the toughest thing. Save money, make all your payments on time. Don't over leverage yourself. People talk about credit cards all the time as if they're bad. They're great tools. It's just
You got to
use
pay them.
you got to pay them, and you got to show the responsibility, and you have to not spend money on things that you just know you can't afford. So for that couple that's ambitious and they're really wanting to make a difference or kind of break the chains of maybe where their family has gone and they want to try something different, those are the things. But work your job. Don't start switching jobs from here to there just to make a little bit more. Buckle down and focus on something, and it'll pan out.
Yeah. So when, for example, that same couple,
Hmm.
how important is it for mutually to have like the good credit? Whether, you can't go like, well, my boyfriend has great credit, or my girlfriend has great credit, or fiance, or any way you look at it, how important it is to be close to equal, or how much apart would you say? Like, I don't know if you've ever seen a loan that you go like, oh man, they ran his credit, it was amazing, or her credit, and it was amazing. They ran their partner, it was like, oh yeah, takes it down a couple notches.
Yeah.
Does that happen?
It happens. The other part that I've seen is one person's the breadwinner, and the other person, they have great credit. They share the bank account, but they don't have income, and they are only bringing debts to the file. Well, that debt to income that we were talking about earlier, it sometimes it's better to, hey, we're gonna take you off the loan. We'll put you on title, but we're gonna take you off the loan because it's not helping you guys get the house that you want.
So they could be off the loan, but on the title?
Mhm.
Oh, so that makes it a little bit easier,
Makes
doesn't
it a
it?
little easier. Yeah. And it just depends, sometimes both parties are working really hard, and one party may have a good bit of income, but they all the debts are carried on their social.
Mhm.
Sometimes it makes sense to take them off anyways. It just depends, it's that puzzle piece that I was talking about. So once we put it on the computer and we've sat down and we've talked about some of the goals, we work it backwards. It's price ranges on the house, monthly payment, what money do we have for this deal? And then we start working it backwards, figuring out what's most important and kind of finding the balance and saying, okay, cool. Here is your strategy. Take this to your agent. And now you'll get everything that you and I have talked about it here in this meeting.
Yeah.
So then it just becomes fun. You get to go look at houses and imagine yourself in them, but now you have your parameters set.
So how should someone choose the right mortgage broker that for
Mhm.
them, because there's so many out there.
There is.
And the one thing that I've noticed is, you know, they come and go.
Yeah.
Just like in any other field when it has to do with sales or anything like that,
Mhm.
it's always going to come and go. It's slow and steady wins the race, and people who just go like, we're not going to try to blow it out the park, but we're just going to kind of walk on in and just own it. You know, what should someone look at 'em and, besides having the name Juan Florez, what should they look for in a mortgage broker? Let's say, and where all can you loan? Can you do, just Tennessee, Georgia, or
we can
nationwide?
lend in pretty much nationwide. Even if I can't lend in that state, I'll make sure they get connected with someone in my branch that can do it, and I will still guide them and walk them through all the things and make sure that they're comfortable.
You'll be the liaison,
The liaison, exactly.
So I mean, so somebody could be watching this, let's say on TikTok or
Right, and
YouTube.
then they find it and they say, "Well, I like the way this guy works. I like, either the details or how thorough he is, whatever it is." And I'm always gonna take a call. I'm never too busy to have a quick meeting and to help educate somebody that wants to learn.
And that's what it's about. It's educating them, spoke about that with both, Whitney and Jonathan when they were talking about homes. It's educating, excuse me,
Educate.
education, uh, educating the buyer.
Yeah.
And, when you do that and you speak the language that they want to hear,
Mhm.
because then, a lot of times people are going to be tossing down stuff and they're going to go like, well,
It's like Chinese.
thank you.
Yeah.
You great. Yeah. Where do I sign again? They have no idea what they're doing.
Yeah.
And knowing exactly what they're doing is something that you do. So if you're listening like nationwide, you could come, when one puts his contact information, it doesn't matter where you live.
Yeah.
You could contact them and go like, hey, I like you, Juan, because, I like the vibe that you're bringing. I like the, the fact that you care for people,
I
you
do. I
know,
I really do.
and
Uh,
that's a big deal,
yeah.
because no one wants that go like, hey, what do I have to do? Go, well, we could get you into this loan right here, this sign right here, initial sign,
Yeah.
thank you, and then never see them again. You know, you're that kind of guy that checks up on people and does all that
Make sure they got
because
their payment set up right. Man, that was I bought a house here recently,
yeah,
and I'm like, man, I haven't got my paperwork to know where I'm making my payments, and I'm thinking, geez, if I feel like this and I work here, I can't imagine how others must feel. So part of my process is, yep, we closed the deal. Let me help you get your payment set up. Like get your portal set up. Make sure that that part's done and protecting them
oh my
after the
gosh,
deal.
portals are sometimes so confusing because
Mhm.
anything you do it seems has a portal now.
Yeah,
Well,
or an
just
app.
or an app, just go ahead and log into this and this and this. Oh, it's easy, and yeah, it's easy if you're doing it every day. And you have people that they could be the most technical people in the world, but if they're not working on your site or working in your app every day, the navigation's not so simple. You know,
Yeah.
and do you break it down for them?
Yeah, of course. And
Well,
to answer your question about like how should someone pick their lender,
yeah.
it's a really good question. I'd be crazy to think that I would get everybody. But if let's say you're in another city or in another state that we're too far to meet in person, just ask questions. Because the thing is one of the best some of the best real estate agents that I've ever seen or I've ever worked with, they communicate well with their clients. They're setting upfront expectations
Mhm.
and they're guiding them. They're getting them connected with someone that has a clear process. And the consultation approach is huge. You take the best agents that have ever done it and that are still doing it, they meet with their clients. They set the rules. They are the ones in charge. They are your experts. And so sometimes people want to just, you know, well, we're just looking right now, like we're gonna fill out these forms, we're gonna do these things. You're robbing yourself of the opportunity of truly understanding. And like I get it. Like nobody likes to be met with some high pressure salesperson that's just shoving information down your throat. Maybe you have some trust issues and you don't know if this person's telling you the truth. The important thing is real estate agents building a very strong relationship with their clientele so that when they say, "Hey, this is the person that you need to start talking to," they're
Mhm.
going to walk through the process, do these things, and communicates well. Man, I'm not the end all be all, but those are the characteristics that I've seen, and someone that's constantly growing,
Yeah.
someone that's getting coached and wanting to learn more,
They're going like, "This is the one."
and I'm the one.
Well, how would people get in touch with you?
Well, with me, man, it's not hard. I use a lot with my cell phone number, so I'll give 'em my number. It's a 423-503-5777. Lucky sevens at the end. Or you can just shoot me a DM on Instagram. It's Juan Loan Away or juanloanaway.com. I got Juan Loan Away. Um, and I'd be more than happy to talk and to help get you guys set up with some time.
Well, thank you again, Juan. The fact that you came here today means a lot to me. You know,
Yes,
I'll
sir.
just look forward to catching up with you all the time. And thank you again for joining us for Talk Truly. Again, we're at Area 52 Studios in Ringo, Georgia. You know, check them out. Uh, if you're watching, you love it, like and subscribe on YouTube. Follow us on Facebook. Follow us on TikTok. My name is Ed. Thank you again for joining us to Talk Truly, and it's on talktruly.com. Thank you.